many ones it's like, oh gee, I'm doing this because I had bad breath.
Dear Oprah, it's the final day of our journey across America, and 1 year and 5 days before the presidential elections of 2008. We're having breakfast around the corner from your studio here in Chicago. In this letter, I want to tell you about our journey that started 6 weeks ago in the Hudson Bay of New York City. It was here 3 years ago that I arrived in America for the first time in my life, on a cargo ship from Europe. It's not that I'm afraid of flying, Oprah, I just felt it would be romantic. And it was. I also caught myself having a romantic thought. America, here I am. I'm gonna save you. That was a silly thought, I know. Although, when I arrived in the US, President Bush had just started his second term, and many Americans were very concerned about the future of their country. You know, Oprah, I didn't get that Bush re-election. I mean, so many Americans already seemed to be fed up with the guy in 2004. Why wasn't that enough to keep him out of the White House? I think I'm starting to understand that a bit better since people here told me something that really fascinates me. Even if the American president and the most powerful political leader in the world gets elected, almost 100 million Americans don't vote. That is 1/3 of the population. Why is that? Who are all those people who don't vote?
Do you vote? No, we don't vote.
And would American politics change if they would vote? If I want to save America, I should have an answer to those questions. So let the search begin.
North. North? Welke X?
Ja, dit is Harlem.
Dit is Harlem.
Ja, zo toch even. Waar kan je naar links?
For answers, we gotta go to Washington, D.C., the political heart of the United States. But our little old motorhome Lucy isn't quite ready yet for her role in this heroic tale. Before we even have left New York, she breaks down. And that's how this road movie starts behind a towing truck. The next day, Lucy is fixed, and we are ready to leave for Washington, D.C. In Washington, we're passing by a few political experts, because what are the numbers when it comes to low voter turnout at elections? This is Norm Ornstein.
We call that a pie chart, yes.
I think it's raspberry.
Where'd you get it?
Ornstein is a scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, an influential political think tank.
If you look at the two countries, part of the broadly defined Western democracy world, who have the lowest turnouts historically, they're the United States and Switzerland. So in a presidential general election, such as the one coming up in November of 2008, the odds are that we will have a turnout that is probably in the range of 60% of eligible voters.
60%, so that is that part?
That's the non-voters.
This is the voters?
Yeah, that's the non-voters.
Right.
And then you get our primary elections. That turnout can be 10, 15, or 20%.
And these people are participating in the primary election, and
yes.
These people are not.
And those people are not.
But who are all those people who don't vote? That night I'm having pizza with Doug Hess of Project Vote, an organization who tries to get more Americans to vote. At the presidential elections, who votes, who doesn't vote?
Well, about 10% of the non-voters are African American. The other 10 to 14% are Latino and Asian. We usually end up with a disproportionate number of minorities not voting and more young voters not voting. So young voters shouldn't make up this much of the electorate, but when it comes to an actual election, they end up making up only maybe this much.
I'm gonna eat the non-voter slice. But what would change if more Americans would vote? The next day I put that question to Harvard professor Thomas Patterson.
Hi. Hi. How was your conference? Can I invite you for a little lunch?
Patterson is the author of the book The Vanishing Voter, in which he analyzes the causes and consequences of low voter turnout.
You cut this part out,
Yeah.
What's left are the non-voters. These are the people who could be in the arena but stay on the edge and don't jump in on election day.
In an ideal world, in an ideal America, you could say this is all Americans voting.
Right.
What would that change about politics and the way political power is divided in America? What would it change about Washington, D.C., about American politics?
You change the electorate in any country. You shrink it by a wide margin or you grow it by a wide margin. Do either of those things. The parties are going to adapt to it. So, you know, as you enlarge the electorate in the U.S., you'd be pushing it to the left.
So, American politics would move to the left if more people would vote. I know, Oprah, that being liberal isn't automatically better than being conservative or right-wing. But still, I like the thought. Because if more Americans would vote, then politics in Washington could become more representative of the needs among the people. Isn't that also what was once intended with the true democracy of the people? Of all people? Or am I being terribly naive here? Did you know, Oprah, that when Abraham Lincoln was elected president, turnout was the second highest in the history of the United States? Could that be repeated in 2008? And which candidate can then mobilize the largest amount of non-voters? Then I first need to know why so many Americans don't vote. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, and we're off to discover non-voting America.